there. So I've done a couple of different videos, 3 in fact, on how to use that classic study of 36 questions to fall in love, not actually to fall in love, but to make friends or deepen friendships. We all want to be close to someone. Well, it's been pointed out to me that could be a little awkward to be like, hey, there's 36 questions that we could make us much better friends. So you want to sit down and talk about all 36 of them? That might be a little weird. So in today's video, I have broken down the concepts into themes. So I'm going to explain the 5 different themes to you that you can use to deepen friendships. I'm going to give you ways to start new conversations with people maybe you've just met, people that are maybe around you but you don't really know them well, or even somebody that you know or have known, and maybe you've lost that sense of connection and deepness. So let's do it. So the study. Researchers looked at this idea. If you talk to people about certain questions, and the questions are at varying levels of intensity or depth or vulnerability, does that make people like you more? And does it make you like them more? The answer is yes. So I've already talked about the 36 different questions. You can go check out the videos. We'll put a link up here and below if you want to see any of those 3 videos where I broke them down into 3 separate sections. But today we're talking about themes. So I'm going to go through 5 themes from those questions. I'll reference the specific questions you can look at to get the sense of the theme, and I'll give you some ideas on how you might use them as conversation starters or a way to really connect more with people that you care about or want to care about. So the first theme is this idea of being curious about someone's life and experiences or what they think about the world. This could be used in terms of if you're out to dinner, even by yourself, and you're sitting at a bar or at a counter and there's somebody by you, and you have this opening where you're both getting food or you're by yourselves, and you say to yourself, if you could have dinner with any person, living or dead, who would it be? And it's kind of a funny way to look at somebody who's also eating by themselves and be like, hey, if you could eat with anyone, who would it be and why? And that's one way to kind of just strike up a conversation about a shared activity you're both sitting there eating. You could do this at a cafeteria. You could do this at your living facility. If you're down eating with people going, well, who would you actually want to be eating with if you had a choice? If you're at a class or you're someplace where you're trying to develop skills, you might say, if you could wave your magic wand and wake up tomorrow with one new skill, what would it be? What would you want to know? Or what magic talent would you want to have? And again, you're capitalizing on the idea that we're both here learning a skill. Maybe you're taking a class together and you're sitting by this person who's also trying to draw the plant over there. But it's this idea that you're looking at, okay, there's a shared thing we're doing, and I'm curious about something, about your perspective on something. Maybe you're at a committee meeting, maybe you're going to give some kind of talk, maybe you're just sitting by somebody at an event and they seem kind of friendly, and you could say something like, these people on stage or the people that are presenting, it's kind of like they're on the edge of being famous or like really well known. Would you ever want to be famous like that, or are you more private? Would you want to give talks and have everybody know who you are? How do you feel about that? I feel like I'm much happier in the audience, or whatever it is that you think is really authentic for you. And this is a way to connect with that person just sitting next to you. It's curious, it's light, and you get to share, what your interests are, what your hopes, a little bit of imagination. It's a really light way to start a conversation. Theme number 2 is your personal values and dreams and things that you would want. So this might work if you were at a networking event, a conference, if you're at church, if you were working or you're volunteering and there's a colleague that you don't really know that well, somebody else who's volunteering that you want to get to know better. It could work with a new friend. It could work with an old friend where you want to deepen things with them. And it could even work with family members where maybe you had a relationship at one point, or maybe you didn't. Like I think about my sisters and my brothers. I have 7 siblings. And if I wanted to get closer to them and we're just kind of hanging out, spending time at a family event or something, I could use this with them to get to know them better. So things like, and here's some of the questions on the 36 questions. Question 14 are dreams you haven't pursued. Question 16 is what you value in a friendship. Question 19 is what changes you would make if you knew you had a year to live. So it could be something like, is there anything that you've always wanted to do but you've never tried? And this might be when you're sitting there cooking and you're trying a new recipe. Gosh, what kind of things do you wish you would have tried in life? And why didn't you do that? What's holding you back now? Like, that's interesting and fun. Or, this is so nice that we are just kind of hanging out and spending time, or I'm getting to know you. What do you really value in friendships? What do you care about? I really care that people feel like they can relax and be themselves and be kind of messed up and be kind of whatever. So you're sharing something that you really care about in a friendship, starting that course of vulnerability, and you're inviting them to do the same thing in a way that tells them you actually really care what you say. Or, I was watching this crazy movie about someone who only had a year to live and what they would do differently. And gosh, it just made me think, what would I do differently if I had a year to live? What do you think about that? Would you do anything different? So this helps us get a little deeper, and it helps people reveal what matters to them in life and relationships, and really starts connecting. You're looking for opportunities to start those conversations. So theme number 3, family and personal background, is definitely a theme. And this might be, you could share with anyone. It's kind of a casual way, a dynamic way. My family has a dynamic where we have 8 kids in it. So this comes up really easily for me, where, we talk about, oh, my brother, whatever, somebody's talking about their family, and I say, oh yeah, well, as the youngest of 8 in our family, it was kind of like this. And that's always a conversation starter. It's always interesting for people that I grew up in a Minnesota farm, which is, really quite different than a lot of the world. So if you pick something that's comfortable and easy for you to share about your family, like, I was an only child. I don't know what people are talking about when they have all these sibling issues. Or, yeah, being the middle kid, I never really had a voice. It's really nice to have a voice with you today. So these are questions 10 from that 36 questions, where what would you change about your childhood? Question 23, how warm was your family? And 24, what's your relationship like with your mother? So things like, what's a tradition from your family that you really love? And this might be you're sitting at your friend's house and you're, making dinner, or you are working with a volunteer, another volunteer, because you're volunteering too, and it's almost one of the holidays. Maybe it's almost Thanksgiving, and you say, for Thanksgiving, my family always did this. What's a tradition that you love in your family? And it might be holiday specific, or it might be just in general. But this gives people a chance to talk about their roots and where they came from and what shaped them. And as you share your family traditions or your family challenges and struggles, it opens up that vulnerability for people to share more about them and how they got to where they are. And that's very connecting. All right. Theme number 4 is being emotionally vulnerable. And you kind of look at this and go, oh, I don't want to be emotionally vulnerable. When am I going to do that, right? I don't want to do that with a new friend. You could do that with a new friend. I'll give you an example of how. You could do this with old friends. You could be on a walk, like maybe you're in a walking group, or you go for a hike with a bunch of people and you don't really know everybody. You could be interacting with someone who might be a mentor to you, or you're kind of a mentor to them. You could be on a date with someone, or you could be just sharing an experience. For example, today I had to go to jury duty. And if I had gotten picked for jury duty, it would have been a 3-day trial. So I would have been spending quite a bit of time with these people, and I could have brought up one of these questions. So the questions are things like, have you ever had a moment where you really wanted to say something important, but you didn't? And I'm thinking about jury duty. Like, wow, watching that person on the stand share really important things, like, really just helps me think about how hard it is to say things sometimes. And even like in our regular life, like how hard it is to say important stuff when you really need to or really want to. Does that ever happen to you? You might even talk about things that are embarrassing. Like question number 29, what's an embarrassing moment you recently had? Or question 30, when did you last cry? Or question 33, what regrets would you have? So it might be just something embarrassing. And I love sharing embarrassing things that I do because it just helps people realize I am so, I was going to say not perfect. That's probably pretty apparent by now. But it just really helps to share moments where you just do something ridiculous and you can own it. And it lets people be ridiculous with you. So, just in very casual conversation, you can do that. And that vulnerability really deepens bonds you have with people. And it can start conversations that you want to become deeper, but not in a very intense way. Oh, I did this ridiculous thing. Doesn't have to feel that intense. All right. The last theme is on sharing reflections, sharing things that are common to us. So this is the we kind of statements, so the things that you like. So question 25 or question 31, something I like about you already and I barely know you. Or question 36, like, here's a problem I'm having. Do you have any thoughts about it? This might be at a social gathering where there's just new people. And it could be someplace where you're networking or someplace where you're just at a dinner and you don't know everybody well. But it could be something as easy as, something I really appreciate about people that I've just met is that, we don't have to pretend like we already know each other. I don't have to pretend like I already know your name because I'm terrible at names and I will forget yours. What was your name again? It might be, I am enjoying this dinner so much because people are so warm and friendly, and I feel like we're all really being real and really just connecting at a great level. That's so nice for me. I don't get that a lot. Do you get that? Does it feel like you connect with people easily like that? Because this feels really special. And so as we share the fact that we're pleased about our interaction, we're sharing connection. We're sharing the bond that we're trying to facilitate. And you even could be with a new friend that you don't know at all. And you say something like, is there some area of your life that you could just use a new perspective? Because I don't know anything about you yet, or very little. And I'd love to try to help if I could, or I'd love to hear more about you. And this goes from the general kind of chit-chatting that everybody does to something that's more personal and meaningful and memorable. And we want our interactions to be memorable. So when you ask for that input, when you share about yourself in that way, when you connect and you let them know something that you're actually feeling and thinking, so often it just stays in our head, that really is connecting for people. It facilitates friendships. So I would encourage you all to go through these themes. I will even put a handout below so you can have access to the written themes and some starter questions you might consider. And think to yourself, what's most comfortable for you? Which one of those things resonates for you? And you can start practicing. You can start practicing leaving comments below if you want to do that. You can practice talking to yourself in the mirror. And yes, anytime you want to, you can take one of those questions and practice on a real person. Because I bet it will go even better than you think. So I am so thrilled that we could chat about these ideas today. If you need specific ideas on those questions that we were talking about, you can watch one of those 3 videos that I mentioned before. And if you just want to think about relationships in general, brain health, quality of life, you can feel free to join our This Beautiful Brain community. I send out a newsletter every single Sunday. It's completely free. And I share ideas and myself, and we connect more. So I'll put the link to that below as well. All right, can't wait to see you there. Bye.